the Golem's cryptic quest. In the boundless expanse of Blockhaven, a world meticulously crafted from vibrant, interlocking cubes, lived countless players, and the sturdy, unassuming villagers who called its cheerful plains home. Blockhaven was a kaleidoscope of biomes. Towering emerald mountains touched crystalline skies, shimmering rivers wound through sun-dappled forests of cubic trees, and vast blocky oceans stretched to the horizon, dotted with islands like scattered emeralds. It was a place of endless possibility, where imagination was the only true limit. Among the myriad of adventurers who roamed Blockhaven was a young explorer known only as Spark. With a bright, curious spirit and an avatar fashioned from polished obsidian and shimmering cyan accents, Spark spent days delving into hidden caves, scaling dizzying peaks, and uncovering the lesser-known wonders of the world. One sun-drenched afternoon, while returning to the familiar cobblestone paths of Emberwood Village, Spark noticed something distinctly out of place. Iron golems were a common sight in Emberwood, their hulking, blocky forms a reassuring presence, silently patrolling the village boundaries, ever vigilant against the rare, pixelated threat. But this particular golem, an older model with a slightly moss-dusted frame, wasn't patrolling. It was kneeling, its massive, jointed arms meticulously arranging glowing redstone dust on the packed dirt ground just beyond the village's last protective fence. Spark paused, a flicker of curiosity igniting. Villagers, usually oblivious to anything outside their daily routines, glanced nervously at the golem from their windows, their blocky faces etched with mild confusion. It wasn't building a defense, nor was it collecting resources. It was drawing. The golem, with surprising precision for its size, completed a sprawling pattern of interconnected lines and strange, angular symbols. The redstone dust pulsed with a soft, rhythmic glow, almost like a heartbeat. As Spark approached cautiously, the golem rose, its blocky head swiveling slowly, its single, glowing eye seeming to fix on the adventurer for a fleeting moment. Then, with a slow, deliberate turn, it lumbered eastward, towards the Whispering Woods, a dense, ancient forest known for its gnarled, dark oak trees and hushed, almost reverent quiet. Spark felt an undeniable pull. This wasn't random. It felt deliberate. The golem hadn't just drawn a pattern. It had drawn a message. With a surge of adventurous spirit, Spark decided to follow, the glowing redstone pattern serving as a silent invitation. The Whispering Woods lived up to its name. The canopy, a thick patchwork of dark green blocks, allowed only shafts of sunlight to filter through, creating an ethereal gloom. The ground was uneven, covered in thick roots and patches of coarse moss. Spark had to navigate carefully, stepping over fallen logs and ducking beneath low-hanging branches. The air was cool and still, broken only by the rustle of unseen creatures and the soft crunch of Spark's blocky boots. After a few minutes, just as the path grew less distinct, Spark saw it. Another glowing redstone pattern, identical in design to the first, laid out at the base of a particularly ancient-looking oak tree. And then, silhouetted against a sliver of sunlight, the golem was there again, kneeling, its massive frame outlined by the faint glow of the redstone it was currently placing. It finished, rose, and continued deeper into the woods, its heavy footsteps surprisingly light. A thrilling realization dawned on Spark. The golem wasn't just drawing, it was creating a trail. Each pattern was a breadcrumb, a clue in a silent, grand design. The mystery deepened with every step. What was so important that an iron golem, a creature of pure function, would embark on such an elaborate silent quest? The journey became a game of follow the leader. The golem led Spark through the heart of the Whispering Woods, its patterns growing slightly more complex, sometimes incorporating the existing environment. a line of redstone running along the edge of a small, tranquil pond, or a symbol etched onto the side of a moss-covered boulder. Each time, Spark would arrive just as the golem finished its work, a silent, knowing presence that seemed to acknowledge the adventurer's determination. The woods eventually gave way to a winding stone-floored canyon, the Echoing Gorge. Here, the redstone patterns were bolder, etched into the very rock, their glow reflecting off the smooth canyon walls, making them seem to pulse with a life of their own. The golem was no longer visible. It was simply leaving its glowing instructions behind, trusting Spark to follow. The air grew cooler, and a faint, musical echo seemed to resonate from the depths of the gorge. The canyon twisted and turned, leading Spark deeper into the earth, until a faint, otherworldly luminescence beckoned from ahead. The Echoing Gorge opened into the Crystal Caverns, a breathtaking expanse of naturally occurring glowstone, and giant, multifaceted crystals that pulse with soft blues, greens, and violets. The redstone patterns here were most intricate, incorporating the natural crystal formations into their geometry, creating a dazzling display of light and shadow. Spark felt a shiver of awe and a growing sense of anticipation. This felt like the threshold of something truly ancient and powerful. The path through the caverns led downwards, following a shimmering stream of pure, crystal-clear water. The silence was profound, broken only by the gentle trickle of the stream and the faint, almost imperceptible hum of the glowstone. At last, the stream widened, spilling into a vast circular chamber, the largest Spark had encountered. And there, at its very center, was the golem. It wasn't drawing a pattern this time. It stood perfectly still, its metallic form reflecting the myriad colors of the surrounding crystals. Its single eye, usually a steady glow, seemed to shimmer with an unusual intensity, fixed on something in the middle of the chamber. Spark's gaze followed. There, nestled amongst ancient glowing moss and surrounded by intricately carved stone blocks that hummed with a faint, otherworldly energy, was a well. Not an ordinary well, but one whose water pulsed with a soft golden light. Ancient symbols, identical to the ones the golem had been drawing all along the path, and were etched into its stone rim. This was no ordinary water source. This was the legendary Wishing Well, a relic whispered about in old Blockhaven tales, thought to exist only in children's bedtime stories. The golem slowly turned its head, its glowing eye meeting Spark's. There was no direct communication, no spoken word, but in that silent gaze, Spark understood. The golem hadn't been making a wish for itself. It had been guiding Spark, and perhaps anyone else, who dared to follow the cryptic trail, to a place where they could make their wishes come true. The golem's wish, it seemed, was for others to find their own hopes and dreams. Spark approached the well, the air around it thrumming with gentle energy. Leaning over the edge, the golden light of the water reflected in Spark's eyes. A moment of reflection. What would one wish for in a world of endless blocks and infinite possibilities? Infinite blocks, a flying mount, an epic sword. All seemed rather mundane in the face of such ancient magic. Then, a thought blossomed in Spark's mind, perhaps inspired by the golem's selfless quest. Spark looked around the beautiful hidden chamber, remembering the long journey, the mystery, and the wonder. The greatest treasures in Blockhaven weren't materials or tools, but the shared experiences, the friendships forged in adventure, the sheer joy of discovery. With a deep breath, Spark thought of the silent, determined golem, of its intricate path across the land, and of the profound, unspoken lesson it had delivered. Spark's wish was simple, yet expansive. May every player in Blockhaven find their own unique adventure, their own hidden paths, and their own moments of pure wonder, just as I have found mine. A gentle ripple spread across the well's golden surface. The light brightened for a brief, magical instant, then settled back into its soft, rhythmic pulse. The air shimmered, and then, slowly, faded. The golem, its task seemingly complete, turned and began its slow, heavy walk back towards the opening of the Crystal Caverns, its figure gradually receding into the distance. It did not look back. Its purpose had been fulfilled. A silent guardian of wonder, guiding without a word, teaching without a lesson. Spark stood for a long moment, simply absorbing the profound silence and the lingering magic of the wishing well. The real treasure wasn't the ability to instantly manifest desires, but the journey itself, the curiosity that led to discovery, the perseverance through the unknown, and the realization that sometimes the greatest gifts are those given through silent, selfless acts. As Spark finally turned to retrace the long journey back through the Crystal Caverns, the Echoing Gorge, and the Whispering Woods, the world of Blockhaven felt even larger, more mysterious, and infinitely more filled with possibilities. The golem's cryptic quest had not only led to a legendary well, but had also unveiled a deeper truth. In the blocky landscapes of Blockhaven, true adventure lay not in what one acquired, but in the experiences shared, the mysteries embraced, and the quiet, unwavering spirit of exploration. Every journey held its own magic, waiting to be unearthed by those curious enough to follow the faint glowing patterns of destiny.